Sakura everybody, and welcome to Cassus Café, and we're back with episode 3 of Ahsoka. I'm here with Captain
Hey.
Tykoth and Kli'nah.
Hello.
And of course, I'm Ankin. And what are we thinking about this week's episode, guys?
I liked it.
Ups
I think
and downs.
I liked it more than the first two episodes.
I can agree with that.
I like it the least.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, this show is like the more Star Wars, like Disney comes out with the more Star Wars shows, I don't get it, because it's like progressively, well, it's not progressive at all. I'm trying to think, because
Do you feel like
Just-
certain areas
just the-
get better and then others regress?
it's like I hate the things I think I would like the most, and then I like the things I think I would hate the most. Like, I am really enjoying this show, save for Ahsoka herself. But, like, I hated Obi-Wan. I hated half of Book of Boba Fett. And it's weird. Like, the quality in these shows are inconsistent, especially with the material they use that I don't even care about.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, just like we have a sort of similar outcome on this show, but then on the other shows, like we probably could not be more different, because after Andor, I think Obi-Wan is my favorite of all the Disney Plus shows.
Absolutely not. That's
I
like
was
the
saying-
absolute worst.
I
And-
cringe.
Yeah, but I still think, like, I mean, I like it infinitely more than this one in every way. And most people would not say that. But I don't know what it is about it. I'm just so, maybe it was Andor releasing and I'm just in that world where I experienced that, and now I'm having a hard time going back. I don't know what it is, but I'm just having a hard time with it.
Andor has set your bar so high, now everything else is weak in comparison.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think it's part of that. And then also, I mean, yeah, like I feel the same about Ahsoka that I did the other episodes, but we can get into it. Sorry.
Andor is just on another level than anything else Disney has come up with.
Yeah.
That is their
Definitely.
peak, unfortunately.
So
I
that
wish
wraps
they
it up
could
for
rise
this
up.
episode of Andor season 1 review.
Oh goodness. So yeah. Anyway, this episode starts out. We've got Sabine training with the droid, and I thought it was really neat. But when I first saw like her she's kind of doing like samurai sword moves and stuff. She's even using a katana like training sword. But there's some interesting things that are going on in this scene that have caused a stir online. And
Really?
yeah, it's the whole idea of Sabine training to be a Jedi when she seemingly doesn't have the Force. And so the whole thing going down is specifically Star Wars theory and a few other Dave Filoni defenders, I'll call them. They're trying to misrepresent / misinterpret some things George Lucas said about the Force, where he did say that everyone had the Force was in everyone, but when it comes to the talent of Force, being able to use it, it depends on your midichlorians. And some Dave Filoni defenders are skipping over the needing the midichlorians part. They're just completely ignoring them and going with what he said about everyone has the Force. And so that's the big like controversy going on, that some people are like, oh, this is fine because everyone has the Force, it's part of George's lore, you know, Dave's just following George here. Whereas actually no, if she doesn't have the midichlorians, she can't use the Force.
Yeah, I don't understand why she even started training to be in the Force, because like if she has no aptitude for it, like she's not really going to improve. And then later Ahsoka says something like, he's like, you can't teach her to be a Jedi, and then Ahsoka's like, I'm trying to teach her to be herself. And I'm like, but if she has no aptitude for this, being a Jedi is not herself. Like, using the Force is not quote unquote who she is, she's clearly more of a warrior than a spiritual
I thought
Just
they
Jedi
always
type Force user.
Just hearing you talk about it in this way actually made me think of it more interesting, that maybe she just tries and fails again and it doesn't work, and we've never seen that before, and maybe that is kind of interesting.
Like I totally
that we like don't see
I
as
totally
success.
don't mind.
though.
I don't mind her like being trained with like the lightsaber or something, because people that aren't force sensitive have used lightsabers in the past. Heck, in Crimson Empire, Dark Empire, stuff like that, stormtroopers and royal guards had lightsabers or lightsaber staffs and stuff. So, and they all weren't really force sensitive, not all of them. So it's not that far fetched. And she's a Mandalorian. They use blades all the time. She should be able to, fight with a lightsaber. But when it comes to her like training the Force, that's what has people up in arms, kind of.
And I'm curious where they're going with it, because as of yet, it's not been effective at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think, currently, I think that's okay. Even if you disagree with it, it's proving right.
Yeah, I think up until they actually give her force powers, people that are complaining about it don't really have much to complain about yet. But it's like the implications, I guess, that why would Ahsoka train her to try and be this way or use the Force or whatever she's doing if, in lore it wasn't possible. So I guess there's that.
I like in the first episode that there's a callback to Phantom Menace, and Phantom Menace doesn't get called back near as much. But the one in this one that they're calling back to obviously is A New Hope with the blast shield. And A New Hope has been called back to death about now. I think just about every movie ever has done it, so I don't know. I think we can move on past A New Hope at least.
I mean, episode 7 was a callback to episode 4. The whole thing was.
and Rogue One has them, and every cantina scene in Mandalorian, and we've just called back to so many different things in episode 4. I think it's time we're good. We got it.
Yeah.
I have my own thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, in regards to, is it the midichlorians or whatever, I always felt that after episode 1, that no one liked that idea, so they walked back on their own, I guess, interpretation of the Force, because it's never mentioned again, I think, after episode 1.
Probably in some novels.
But in regards to the Force, I always felt like when you're talking about the Force, that your talent just influenced your ease and capability of learning the Force. So, like, Anakin was the chosen one. He was becoming powerful quickly, right? Like, he wasn't super young when he got brought into the Jedi Temple, right? They were saying, oh, he's too old. But he surpassed many Force users that were there for way longer than him. And I always thought that had to do with the fact that I guess your Force sensitivity affected your ability to learn quickly. And that anyone, in theory, could learn the Force, and that the Jedi only just took the talented ones, right? Because they're gifted. And that, in reality, anyone, if they put in the time, could actually become a Force-capable user. And I don't think that's too far-fetched, because even in my own life, if I look at me and my brother, he's very naturally gifted in regards to sports. I am not. And so I had to put in way more effort for a lot longer to reach a certain point in sports, whereas my brother had to put very few time in sports to be at the same level as me, or very close as capable as me. So when I was watching this, they're like, oh, you're like the least gifted person ever to be trained. It's like, okay, it makes sense that she's having a hard time. But as Ahsoka is trying to tell her, everyone has... Because I think she even said, like, everyone has the Force in her. Some have more talent than others, and therefore those people learn quicker. Probably thinking of Anakin himself for that reason, because Anakin was very talented in the Force, as well, I guess, or midichlorian count, if you want to go with that. So to me, it makes sense that she would struggle, and it would take her a lot longer. But in theory, probably not impossible.
The more I hear you guys talking about it, the more I really like this storyline.
I do too.
of like her struggling, and I didn't dislike it before by any means. I haven't thought about it in terms of that concept as deeply. I do like that idea.
And that's what I kind of is hoping here, is that they're trying to show that, not everyone learns the Force so effortlessly, like in every single bit of Star Wars media that we're used to seeing.
Right, there's always a protege, a chosen one, just Mary Sue or whatever it might be.
Okay, this is a straight quote from George Lucas concerning this, so I'll just read it real quick. That's why I split it into the personal force and the cosmic force. The personal force is the energy field created by our cells interacting and doing things while we are alive. When we die, we lose our persona, and our energy is assimilated into the cosmic force. If we have enough midichlorians in our body, we can have a certain amount of control over our personal force and learn how to use it, like the Buddhist practice of being able to walk on hot coals. Some people can't because they just don't have as many midichlorians. That's just genetics. So the more midichlorians you have, the more abilities in the force you have. Or something to that effect, because the last bit was cut off.
When was
That's very
that
interesting.
quote?
God, he's such a Buddhist guy.
Long time ago. It was during the prequels. It was during an interview.
It's so good.
Yeah, so in relation to this, if she doesn't have the midichlorians, then she can't use the Force like most people can, like the Jedi can.
I've never had an issue with midichlorians,
sorry,
but that's
guys.
a whole other thing.
I mean, if you want to really get nitpicky, I've heard, why do people not use, Force abilities on each other when lightsaber fighting? And I always heard, well, that's because they put up some sort of, Force shield to protect them, and you have to, get them off balance so that you can use your abilities on them. So that's why I was saying, when Sabine was fighting the Sith Apprentice, I was like, why doesn't she just go, you're dead, So...
I love how long we've spent on this, because the rest of it is just like a space fight.
Yeah, I
Okay.
told you the beginning was probably going to be long because of this little controversy here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
another random thing. If you look at the little cabinet of all the stuff in the background on Ahsoka's ship, she has 10 lightsabers just hanging out in there. Why does she have that many lightsabers?
Oh, those are probably from the Inquisitors she's killed.
That's true.
Oh.
Nah, they don't look like Sith lightsabers.
Why not? You never know when you might need a spare.
Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka's been known to have multiple iterations for lightsabers. in the past.
Don't forget what happened in Anakin episode 2. He got his cut in half, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's gonna kill me."
She just has extras. It's her backup plan.
Yeah. This weapon is your life.
Anakin lose
I tried.
multiple lightsabers. I mean, if there's anyone that's gonna learn from that, it would be Ahsoka. Let's just be real.
I will say I had one epiphany in this episode. Well, I had a few, but one was that the droids have the most personality out of anyone in this show.
It's
I
true.
don't think
Yeah.
I can argue with that, actually.
Yeah, so far, yeah, you're pretty much right.
My two favorite characters in the show so far are the Jedi Master Training Droid and Sabine. For sure.
Chopper.
I was gonna say, is Chopper not your favorite?
He's there.
Tykoth?
Well, he's in there, but I just wish he was in there more. Just not enough.
He was in
Need
this
more Chopper.
episode.
Yeah, we
like
did
one
need
shot.
more Chopper.
Yeah, he'd be my favorite if he was in it more.
Yeah.
Should probably just
So-
have like droids, like the old cartoon, except live action, and just like Chopper. Hey, just make a Chopper spin-off show. That's fine.
How about all the droids, like
Just
Chopper,
pranks people.
R2D2, C-3PO? What chaos could they do
Yeah,
together?
just make them little. Yeah, the ultimate team up.
So the
Alright.
next shots are of the Rebel fleet and the New Republic fleet, rather.
One is
Yeah.
there.
And yep, Hamon's there. As well as a bunch of those ships. I think they're MC-30 battleships. I forget exactly, but I think I saw that. I can't remember, but they're Legends Rebel ships, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this the whole next scene is Hera talking with the Senate.
I think that one guy is evil. That's my prediction.
So this is
I like
another problem I have that I knew I was going to have, because that's what Dave's doing with the show, is basically just redoing Heir to the Empire. But the character of the senator that is like, you know, kind of a piece of crap.
Sussy wussy.
The sassy.
Yeah, he's probably going to be a Borsk Thalia character. So if anyone has read the Heir to the Empire book from back in the day, Borsk Thalia was a Bothan senator in the New Republic, and he was like super power hungry. He was like, he wasn't imperialist, but he was kind of this character where he's kind of just subverting the New Republic and is trying to gain more power over it. And he like supplanted Akbar at one point, I think, and stuff like that. So it's like another character in that same vein, and I see it plain as day. I just wish he was a Bothan. I don't know why they shy away from using aliens. They got one alien in the Senate right here, and of course Hera in the Mon Cal. But other than that, most everyone's a human.
Yeah. I like Mon Mothma.
It makes sense that she's the
issues with
Chancellor.
the scene. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Even though the shows are inconsistent in tone with Andor, she feels consistent. So I'm kind of, I don't know. At least she's the same, and I like her a lot.
Seeing her did kind of help me connect this show a bit more to Andor, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
She's also
fine.
in Rogue One.
Yeah. She's been really a great Mon Mothma. Every scene she does.
she
Really
was
awesome.
So she was the actor or actress that played Mon Mothma in, I think it was Revenge of the Sith deleted
I
scene.
think you're
Oh,
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why they got her back to play her, because she had already played her in a deleted scene from the prequels.
And it just so happens she's really good.
Yep.
Yeah, I really, I really found this scene with the Senate interesting because it kind of shows like some of the old hypocrisy that comes with the Republic days. Like, oh, there's no threat. Look around us. The Imperial fleet is scattered. And meanwhile, we just got done with season 3 of Mando, where they're like, oh yeah, we are totally scattered. They're purposely looking like completely lost and like without leadership when they're secretly having meetings in the back room. I was like, okay, yeah, I see it. You can clearly see where there's that frustration between the people that know what's going on, and then there's the politics getting in the way again. Like, in a way, it's kind of reminding me of like episode 1, right? There's literally an invasion of Naboo with droids, and it's like, oh no, there's no proof. And they're like, well, what if we set a committee to go investigate? And it's just like, really?
Yeah, they're redoing what the Old Republic did, and it's not going to work out for them. And that's not how it was in Legends. The New Republic did not demilitarize. Instead, they had a slew of
they actually
more
built
wards
up
after
they were
that.
like, we're not going to let this happen again.
Yeah, like they were a fledgling republic, and they had to unite the systems. They had to have a strong military presence to ward off the Imperial remnant. They had to push them back into Imperial
because
remnant
they didn't
space.
have the whole galaxy.
And no, they just had the core. That was it. And some outlying mid-rim systems. Because there were different factions all over the galaxy after the Galactic Civil War. They had the Imperial Remnant. They had the oh crap! There's a small star cluster somewhere in the mid-rim, I think, that was independent. That had a really large navy.
Yep.
And of course the Hutts and Outer Rim territories. So, but this one, they're gonna. That's how we lead into the sequels, guys. They're demilitarized and just sitting ducks.
And the worst part of it, he's like, why would we waste our time going after all of these supposedly threats that are not existent when we have to help the people? What is your military gonna do? They're a military. They're not a reconstructive force. Their whole point is to fight and defend, right? If that means going out and patrolling, that's what you do. Heck, that's what look at the real world, The United States, after being drawn into 2 world wars, basically said, we're not having that again. And now we have the biggest military ever. Why? Because we're sick of it. No one wants to go. If you really don't want to go to war, the biggest way to do that is have the biggest stick and tell everyone to go no. That's how you do it.
Or leave the planet. My only complaint about the scene is the Leku.
Leku.
It's really Hera's Leku is really distracting to me. But
yeah. But
that sounded really creepy the way I said it. I meant it in like a costumey way, not in any other sort of way. Okay. Just want to clear that up.
All right, we'll move on. So we finally get to see Jason Syndulla, and the last time we saw him was a little short scene at the end of Rebels.
He's the son of.
So.
Yeah.
He's son of Hera and.
Yeah, that's what I
what's
thought.
his face? Kanan.
Because of his green hair, right?
Yeah. Well, that's because Hera's green.
Right.
That's how genetics work cross species.
which is such a canon. It's such a, I wouldn't say canon now because it's a Disney canon, but it's such a Legends breaking thing because in Legends in the EU, Twi'leks couldn't interspecies breed like this, so he's a walking contradiction.
I'm cool with it because I'd probably end up being with a Twi'lek. That sounds weird too. All right.
And it's weird because it's like, what would a human Twi'lek hybrid look like? He doesn't look like anything I would think that would look like. He's just a normal human with green hair.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because the reality would probably creep people out a little bit.
It's like, just give him some, I don't know.
Make him be a Twi'lek, but skin colored or something.
No, because Twi'leks can be normal.
Or a
skin
Twi'lek
colors.
with hair. Imagine that. That'd be weird.
Twi'lek with hair. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Ugh.
Yeah.
Let's just make him full Twi'lek or not full Twi'lek.
I like Kanan. Miss Kanan. Too bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Too bad. So sad.
That was an interesting scene. I have a feeling he might be a Jedi someday too, because I mean his dad was one. So
He talks about wanting to be one.
makes sense.
Makes more sense than Sabine being a Jedi.
Yeah.
Could be neat.
Next few scenes are more Sabine and Ahsoka.
I will say,
trying to use his force and it's not working.
I thought it was funny when Sabine's trying to use the Force, and it's like, when all of us try to use the Force and we just like shoot our hand out and hold our breath and like make funny faces. You're like, trying to get the thing to move with your brain. It's just like us.
Yeah, it felt relatable. I'm like, finally, this is what I do when I'm sitting at home alone, and it also doesn't work for her. Great.
What I do when I can't reach the remote.
We are both failures.
So
I love this. Yeah. No, I like Sabine a lot. She's great. Ahsoka is,
Yeah,
Subpar.
there's not much more to say about this. I mean, the rest of the episode is pretty dang fun. I enjoyed pretty much all of this. The space fight stuff. Now, there is one part in it that people also were up in arms about, that were kind of split on.
Is it when she goes on the ship outside?
Yep.
Yeah.
You pegged it.
Yeah, I don't get how gravity works out there, because sometimes she comes back and sometimes she doesn't.
She's magnetized to the ship with her boots.
But what about when she jumps?
She could use the Force.
She can use, I don't know.
And then she jumps another time and she doesn't get back up.
Yeah, but then she starts floating in space. Why can't she use the Force then?
Yeah. I will say, I feel like this is the first scene that we really saw Ahsoka have any emotion at all.
That is true. I think she did a better job at being Ahsoka in this scene. When they're flying the ship and fighting the people and stuff.
I thought it was interesting to see like how like first they're all like frustrated with each other, and then she's just like takes a deep breath and is like, okay, I gotta like figure out how to problem solve with her, because otherwise
that moment where she
we're
goes,
gonna die.
"What do you
And,
need?"
That's
kind of like when like part of Ahsoka actually came back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
feel like I could relate to that too, like having like not being able to work with someone and then like being able to figure out how to do it.
For some reason, her calmness in action makes
Well,
it.
that's kind of
work
part of
better.
who she is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just like the complete. No
Few
big deal.
Fighters on her
Figure
back,
it out.
that's nothing to the thousands of battle droids she's had to face during the Clone Wars. So,
Oh yeah, or that finale to or one of the final episodes of Clone Wars, where she's riding.
you're right. That's what I'm
Republic
saying.
gunships
Like,
down to
she
the
literally went through the
platform on
one of the most
Mandalore.
intense wars
Yeah.
in the history of the galaxy. It's like, oh, a handful of fighters.
I think that's why I don't mind the it like looks a little silly, like jumping around on the
Yeah.
ship, but like she did it in the Clone Wars and it's fine.
Even
It
then in
looks-
Rebels, like
it's
when
something
she
she would
sees the
do.
Inquisitor, she's like, eh, like, I face way worse things than you,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this kind of tactic was done in the Clone Wars all the time, not even in Legends. Like in the Tartakovsky series, Saisi
Right.
10 and his clone battalion did a similar thing from one capital ship to the other. So, it's not out of the ordinary for Star Wars. I think it's people
it's
that
silly,
complain
but
about
it's
this stuff.
it's Star Wars silly.
Yeah, it's hard to make it look like not silly in live action. I think it's easier to do that kind of thing in animation, but it's not. It's like these people that are complaining about it. It's not something that is
not at
out
all.
of.
It's not like she went out there
possibilities.
without a spacesuit on.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the
Yeah,
same
that's-
thing as Mary Poppins Leia. Okay, it's something way different.
Were you seeing comparisons to that?
Yeah, I was.
That's not even
funny.
in the same.
Yeah, that's
you gotta be kidding me.
silliness.
That's an extreme comparison.
Yeah, it's
for
definitely
real.
a reach for sure.
In Clone Wars,
compare those two.
Plo Koon and some clones got out of their life pod to fight off the droids.
Yeah. And I thought that was stupid because Plo Koon wasn't even wearing a helmet. No, I don't care about his mask. His mask is to help him breathe atmosphere. It's not help him breathe in space. But the clones, they've got sealed helmets. That's fine. The clone armor's space proof. Him just out there with his skin, and everything on his head.
I was like, that's kind of odd.
exposed. No, that was stupid.
But he himself admitted
Yeah.
that he could only handle it for a certain amount of time.
Well, it's kind of dumb. But this one, she's got a spacesuit on. It's perfectly.
And here's
And it
another
didn't look
nice
bad.
touch.
Didn't look
Her
too bad.
motions were slower because of the fact that she was wearing a spacesuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
looks
she was in space,
completely
and zero
believable to
gravity.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when she
Yeah.
was like floating
I
there.
did
It's like,
too.
all right, can you?
And
get
I
me
like
now?"
how calm she was.
So
She's
she'll
like,
fix
"Hey,
it.
when you get here, could you pick me up?"
Yeah, like I thought
Yeah.
that was funny and witty, and
Right, that's the
where's
Ahsoka we've
where's
been
this
missing,
Ahsoka
you
been
know?
this whole time,
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought that was a fun scene. I think this whole next section where they're flying through the Purgil is just majestic and amazing.
I must admit there was a little part of me that groaned when I saw the space whales.
I loved
Again.
it. I thought the space whales were stupid in Rebels, but I think the space whales look really
I'm not
cool
gonna lie,
in
they
this
look
live
cool.
action.
And just saying that when they first showed up, I went, "Oh man, not these guys again."
I mean, we knew they were there because we saw a little split, like a little view of it in the last episode, I think, when Balin's looking up
must
at the
have-
sky and we can hear them going on up there. But
Yeah.
yeah, but
Well, they were also in The Mandalorian.
no, well, yes, they were.
For the shot, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're on shot.
Yeah, I feel like they're showing up quite a bit here.
They're definitely
They are-
this seems to be a planet that they're accustomed to.
Well,
Like they
later
like,
in the episode,
migrate back and forth from.
And I think there will be much more to do with Purgils for sure
I think
in the
it was
series.
the droid that was saying something about this planet is a. Because when they mentioned like, "Oh yeah, we saw the space whales," he's like, "Oh yeah," and he said something about it's a migration point for the hyperspace whales that go between the galaxies.
Yeah.
I think he literally said that. And so it's
yeah.
and so when he said that,
Yeah.
Ahsoka and
Yeah, I
Sabine
remember
looked
that.
at each other like,
Mhm.
oh, kind of like they understand what's going on here because now they're kind of figuring out what what's her face is doing over there, the hyperspace ring.
I mean, obviously, if you're any kind of smart, you could put two and two together. Ezra and Thrawn were whisked away by space whales.
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't space whales have anything to do with this?
It's yeah, they're gonna be central to the plot.
Unless you didn't go back and watch anything about Rebels, because if we hadn't gone back and watched that and you hadn't told me, I still would have no idea what the heck was up with these space whales.
That's true. Yeah, like what the heck is this?
Like I wouldn't know what's happening, but well, you showed me, so I do know. But...
Yeah. And when you see the map of the galaxy they gotta go to, it's circled with Pergil.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last shot, freaking bad A. Loved it. Balin.
I like really quickly. I just love the look of the planet in general. Just
Me
those
too.
nice,
It's so
vivid
pretty.
red
there's this
trees.
there's this one shot. It's the wide shot of the ship that's landed there, and it looks so good. It's like a matte painting.
The one like looking through the trees.
Yeah.
Trees,
it's nice to see a planet
really pretty.
that is having an ocean, but the whole planet isn't just an ocean.
Yeah.
I want to know what this was based off. Like, where did they film this? Like, I'm sure it could just be green screen, but like, I really hope there's a place
it's
in the world
inspired by
that
somewhere in the world, but it's probably volume.
Probably just shot on the volume.
Yeah.
It looks like just pulled some tree imagery and then mixed with CG and then just color graded them red, CG'd them red.
Yeah.
It looks
really
CG. It looks good, but I feel
near
like
the
it still
water,
looks like
like you can feel like the area is very humid or whatever. Like there's a lot of the fog from
it's a little bit
the
gloomy
coast,
too.
all that, we totally skipped over the most of the fight with the fighters.
I like
by
this
the
place
way.
a lot.
Nothing to complain about.
It's
I think
just normal, Star Wars writer stuff. Nothing really to complain about or
nothing.
Really
Another episode 4 callback with the bat gun.
With the what?
With just the rear gun.
I mean, it's not like only 4 fighters went after them. They sent 6. But I mean, it feels very competently shot. Like I didn't feel like I was looking at something going, "This feels incredibly stupid."
Yeah. No. And I really like the Sith apprentice girl. She's really, really compelling.
I'm really intrigued by the masked dude.
And she's skilled.
Oh yeah.
She's very skilled without being
I really want to
too
know
powerful.
who the masked character is.
So far.
Yeah, I've been seeing a bunch of theories on that.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna do anything like that. I'm just like, I just don't know who is this guy.
I am fairly certain Sam Witwer plays him because he's been credited. He's not credited as him, but he's credited in general.
Star Threven, yeah.
Star Killer.
Star Killer.
That'd be an interesting time to bring Star Killer back if that's what they ended up doing.
I doubt it.
I don't see a path forward in that. I mean, I guess they could just totally change his character, but
yeah,
I would hate it immensely.
There's ways, but you'd have to completely just shun the old character and make it just totally brand new. So it wouldn't even it would be a character name only. Yeah, and maybe look.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same character, so I don't care. I don't want it.
He'd just have to be a Inquisitor or whatever.
Yeah. But the last scene, Balin looking on. I'm excited to see him in action again.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him throw down with Ahsoka 1-to-1. And I hope that's a pretty tough fight.
I think so. I think
we might get that the next episode or the episode after.
It'd actually be kind of cool with how tough she is if we have a Empire Strikes Back situation where he goes up against her and he kind of wins.
Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting.
I've heard the episodes 4 and 5 are supposed to be like phenomenal. So
I
don't want to get hopes up too high, but
I'm really excited to see where it's going. Also, the hyperspace ring having a bunch of turbo lasers on it
Yeah.
kind of surprised me, but I was like, that's also not surprising at the same time. So,
It's like the weirdest capital ship I've ever seen.
but and ironically, I think one of the best things you could do is to fly into the ring. Because at that point, the guns on the outside can't shoot you. So, it is an odd thing.
Yeah.
I would say, well, it's not meant for combat. Clearly,
design flaw.
Its intended purpose is to travel between galaxies, right? So the guns are more of just a piss off kind of thing. And I'm sure if it does actually attach to a Star Destroyer, I'm sure you could always use the Star Destroyer to do all the shooting. But I'm really excited to see where it goes. I really want to see next week now. I want to see Thrawn soon, I'm hoping.
Yeah, so we'll use that as our segue into our closing section, where this week we're going to talk about, because we forgot to last episode, where we think the show's going to go from here, and where we see it going through this season. Like by the end of the season, what's going to happen, kind of stuff, like we did with Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian and stuff like that.
And none of us were right with the Mandalorian.
None of us were right.
not even like close.
So we should try again. All right. For me, I've only heard very vague things, so I don't even know any leaks or nothing. So I have only the idea that maybe we do see Thrawn in the trailer, so he will show up at some point. But I don't know to what extent and how much. I think he's probably gonna be more towards the end, I would assume, because I think this season or this show, whether it's one season or not, is leading up into this big movie thing that Dave's supposed to be doing that culminates everything into one movie. So that's my my predictions.
I think it's going to be a little bit Moff Gideon, not in that it like wraps up in the season, but that it's going to be second to last episode, and then a substantial amount of the finale will be that, setting up for more. I think bigger picture, the movie's going to get canceled and get turned into like some sort of crossover series thing. I don't think the movie's going to get made.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assumption.
And it's going to get turned into like I didn't watch the DC stuff or whatever, but the multi not making it into a multiverse, but how they crossed it over in various short form series. So I could see that, like a limited series that's like kind of the finale to one of these storylines. I think that, and I see Ahsoka as maybe like 2 seasons leading into that storyline.
Yeah,
maybe.
Nice.
Ends with their big confrontation of realizing where each other stands, and he's back in the galaxy and he's got his kind of army little remnant ready to go.
Yeah, I hope that they make Thrawn an actual force of power, because he was that in Legends. Like the Republic was almost beaten by him if it wasn't for Luke and the crew.
And they have such a opportunity to make a really complex villain, like really morally complex, too, because he's not just a villain. Like he does some bad things, but he's really more than that too. Has these really moral quandrums that he's trying to justify, and a lot of it I can really sympathize with his cause. So, there's a lot more there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Captain.
Well, I'll be honest. When the trailer first came out, I was really scared that this season was going to be, here comes Thrawn back, we're going to have a mini war, and then he's going to be gone. By the end of the season, we'll never see him again. Based off, and that was partially due to the fact of how poorly paced Mando Season 3 was. We did so much in a season that should not have been in that season.
Yeah.
Or at least you would have needed to at least triple the length of that season with more episodes. To really make it flush out. After their not only just the first 2, but now even the 3rd episode, I feel like the pacing is way better, and it's not rushing, at least for now. Because unlike Mando Season 3, I think, was it episode 2, he was in the mines and he had been redeemed. We're like, well, what's the other episodes for now, you know?
Yeah, it's like that should have been Season 3.
Exactly. We thought that was going to be Season 3, him getting the gear necessary to get to Mandalore and then exploring Mandalore to find the Mind's End, redeem himself, and then eventually come back. And so I feel, what is the ultimate thing about this show going to be about? What's going to be about Thrawn? Even though it's called Ahsoka, you could have probably renamed it Thrawn.
Or Rebels Season 5.
But I
think that's probably what it should be called, yeah.
I was expecting to have seen Thrawn by now, but now I'm kind of seeing that based off the pacing of these episodes, they're actually like, all right, story progresses, we're giving you a little bit of action, see you next week kind of thing. I'm like, all right, I like where this is going. I'm thinking we probably won't see Thrawn, I'm going to guess no earlier than episode 6, I think. Because I think there's 8 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 8,
yes.
And we're on 3.
How many episodes?
I don't think
8.
we're going to see him at no earlier than episode 6 in the season. Now, I think his return is going to be an integral part of a bigger story now. I think we'll get some confrontation with him, and maybe the episode 7 and episode 8 just give you a little action, something to like want you to come back. But I think he's becoming more part of a grander storyline. I'm hoping is that either a different show, season 2 of Ahsoka, maybe it's Mandalorian season 4 or whatever. I think he's going to be stepping in to be the baddie that kind of combines everyone and is going to cause a larger scale confrontation. And maybe show that it's a complete idiotic to demilitarize, right? I would almost find it funny if they are demilitarizing, Thrawn comes back, and the whole demilitarization plan was part of the secret Imperials within the New Republic that were secretly pushing to like, hey, if we make them demilitarized, we'll make it easier for Thrawn when he comes back, right?
Well, yeah.
That could actually be
disagreements about
that could be
exactly what they're doing.
whether it's before or after season 3, and Anakin here has said he thinks it's pre-season 3. So
yeah, it depends on what happens like throughout the season and where things,
I don't think it's definite yet.
It's definitely not. I
think
haven't
that
heard
might play a
anyone
part into
official come out and say when this is.
I think
set,
it would be if Thrawn comes back and he's not immediately killed by the end of the season. I have a hard time thinking that this was concluded prior to Mando season 3, because there would be so many things that wouldn't make sense, but that could also be Disney for you, right? We're totally demilitarizing as Thrawn returns,
Yeah. I mean, my whole issue with this is Thrawn is a villain that deserves a movie or a series of movies. He's that big of a threat. He's that big of a character. He's that big of a villain. To introduce him in a show that is probably not going to get as much traction as a movie is just annoying to me. We're going to move on to Kli'nah's predictions. Go ahead, Kli'nah.
All right. So I think with Hera, she's probably just going to have to stay back and do some stupid political stuff, which I kind of wish she could come in with like Chopper or whatever.
He'll come in at the end when it's all done.
I doubt that's going to happen because she can't communicate with Ahsoka and Sabine.
Have you seen the trailers?
No.
Okay.
Anyway, the next episode or 2, I think, is going to be Ahsoka and Sabine, fighting these people on this planet. And then I think maybe at the end of episode 5, they're going to possibly go through the hyperspace gate thing. And then I think episode 6 and 7 or 8 or whatever, they're going to be like in the hyperspace area, wherever the other planet is. And they're going to find Thrawn and what's his name? Ezra. And I think they're going to have some emotional thing with Sabine and Ezra and even Ahsoka and Ezra. And they're going to be like, Ezra, we missed you. And then Ezra is either going to be like, I missed you too. And I'm like dying or something like that because like Thrawn tried to kill me or something, because how has he lived for 10 years with Thrawn and when he tried to kill Thrawn? Or he turned to evil and he's on Thrawn's side now.
I would hate that, but I think it makes the most logical sense.
I'm up for Ezra being evil.
I think the final episode is going to be them like fighting Thrawn somehow, and then Thrawn gets through the hyperspace and ends with like a victorious like ah ha 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 ha, I succeeded in coming back to conquer you. And that's where like the next season or the movie or whatever comes after this will start from. And Ahsoka and her little team is gonna be like
on their wits' end.
Yeah, like barely surviving, but make it through.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, now to wrap up, let's do our episode ratings. Yep. I'll start. 7, maybe an 8. I like it better than the first 2 episodes. So it's probably, just so you guys know, unless something completely blows me away, which I highly doubt it, nothing's going to be a 9 or 10 in this show. So it's either a 7 or 8 or really low. The first 2 episodes, I stand by a 7. This one's 7.5, 8 territory.
Yeah, I would give it a 7.5 as well, because I like it more than the other episodes, but it didn't like blow me away, or like there was still like the first half I wasn't a huge fan of because it was really slow, but then once they started the fighting and you actually saw them have emotion, it got better. But 7.5 because it was better but not great.
All right, Captain, let's go ahead with you.
I'll go with a 7.5 too. I'm pretty much in line with the same thoughts. Definitely better than the first 2 episodes. I get the first one a 6, the last one 7. This one is better. We have less of monotone Ahsoka, and we got some action, but nothing was really like amazing happening. So I don't want to give it an 8 because it wasn't 8 level territory for me. But it's better than the 7, so I hate doing decimal numbers, but I would give it a 7.5.
Sounds good. All
You
right.
can give it a 75 out of 100 if you'd prefer that.
All right, Tykoth.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know, inconsequential. Not that everything needs to be consequential. I think in the context of the whole show coming out, I'm probably gonna like everything more. But just on this individual basis, it's I don't know, it's kind of. I think it's gonna be a lot better, especially in our future discussions. But I just am not. I don't know. I'm not into it.
I think this episode's biggest drawback is its length. I think it needed more in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It needed to be longer. Just like a typical problem with Disney live action
But-
shows that are too
But it
short.
might, in the context, it might be fine if like the next one, if I was watching it back to back, it just might not be that big of a deal. And like, oh, they need a while to get from planet to planet for it to feel like bigger. And I get that. I understand that completely. So yeah, in the context, this might be another 7 or 8. But just right now, it's
Yeah.
That's the one thing I will say. I'm a bit annoyed with the consistency of the length.
Yeah, like come on. That's another critique I've seen is that I saw one guy, I forget who it was, someone on Twitter, X, whatever. He said that Star Wars has yet to have a true live action show. It's all 8-part movies, and there's no 20 episode long season of an actual show with consistent,
You don't have episodes that are
Runtimes.
20 or 40 minutes that would fit into
right.
a on the air television, right?
Mm.
Which I think that's their
Right,
biggest mistake, because that could be another way to get money, right? Give it to the stations after so many years.
But yeah, anyway, with that, thank you guys for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week for episode 4. Looking forward to it. Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.